This is the Hartford Online Radio Network. 21st Century Audio. Delivered on thehorn.com.
Good evening, folks. It's Tuesday. It's the Hartford Online Radio Network on thehorn.com, and this is Open for Business, the show that features hands-on business owners discussing everything and anything that has to do with running a business in the 21st century. Our sponsors are Gateway Financial Group, the accounting firm of Budwitz and Meyerjack, Sherper Technologies, CentralCTDental.com, which is the home of Doctors Camp, Sambor, and Lupini. There you go. I'm Tommy Russo, and I have a great guest with us this evening. We have Dr. Amy Crockett, veterinarian. How are you, Amy?
I'm great.
Now, before we get to you, I just want to mention, for those of you that are actually paying attention, yes, the show's name has officially changed. We got a nice little nudge from NPR. Unbeknownst to us, NPR has been running a show called Business Buzz for, Who knew?
And they're jealous of our success.
Exactly. So this is one of those classic David and Goliath. We being David, they being Goliath, and we said, sure, no problem, we'll change our name. So the new name of the show is Open for Business, and welcome Amy as part of the new show. How you doing?
Just wunderbar.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. So you know what? You were kind enough, Amy, to send along to me a couple different versions of your bio, and one of the things that leaped out at me instantaneously is that you knew from second grade that you were going to be a veterinarian.
Right.
Tell us about that a little bit. It's always fascinating to me, and by the way, it's certainly one of the reasons why we've been such good friends for so long. That was me too. I knew from day one, as early as 5 years old, that I was going to be a musician. I had no doubt about it. I think we're some of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
But tell me how that manifested for you so early.
You're leaving
on.
nothing for me to make fun of you there, are you? You're just going right through. I was like, yeah, but the difference is she actually became a veterinarian. You're leaving me no time, not even a pause.
But you did good. You took the crowbar out and you stuffed your way in, man.
Flag on the play.
Okay.
So, yes, first grade, I wanted to be a human doctor. And my friend and I, her father was a plastic surgeon. We were going through all the books on plastic surgery procedures. And
this is in first grade.
First grade, yeah. And, moving ears around and noses around and stuff like that. And then by second grade, I wanted to be a veterinarian because I didn't want to deal with humans. My father being a human physician, and everything from then on, I knew I was going to be a veterinarian.
So what happened to your poor collection of Barbie dolls back then?
You don't want to know.
Right. The land of misfit toys.
Yes, parts are parts.
So how did Dad feel when daughter Amy makes the decision that even though I love what you do, Dad, I'm making the move to go in a different direction?
He saw that was who I was, and he saw everyone in the neighborhood bringing me, birds that fell out of trees and bunnies that were, uncovered by mowers and floods that brought other birds and pets. And I would always take them into my little hospital in the basement, and I would fix them and make them well and let them go.
When you say fix them, this is second, third, fourth, and fifth
Yes.
grade?
Yes.
Was that with a hammer and a
Yes.
chisel and a saw?
No. I use smaller equipment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so take us through the path from that early stage to school to, what got you officially into your practice?
Well, I think because I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian and I knew it was extremely difficult for women to get in, I knew I had to get straight A's. So after junior high school, I knew it counted. And that's when I started, putting my mind to work and getting the straight A's.
So I want to stop you right there because interestingly, you're another recent guest or a guest that we had on the show a week or two ago referenced the same thing, that it was more challenging for a woman to succeed in her particular industry.
Yep.
And you're saying the same thing here. Help us to understand why. I mean, I think I know why, but I'd enjoy hearing you articulate it.
Well, in my profession back then, the lack of testicles was against you.
So that explains the procedure.
Exactly. It's completely why, yes.
It's amazing how that crowd just showed up, too.
They did. Thanks, guys. Keep your legs together. The the thing was, they felt that veterinary medicine required a lot of physical labor. But it also, if you use smarts, you can have cows in stanchions, you can have horses, held with medical restraint and so forth. So they realized more and more that women were intelligent, but they were also physically capable as medicine and surgery progressed.
Wow. Now, I'm going to fast forward in this moment, in this day and age, a young woman making the same decision that you did a number of years ago. Would she run into similar kinds of obstacles, or have they, for the most part, been erased?
They've been erased.
That's great. That's good to hear.
You would find probably, in my day, 10% were women in school, and today it's probably 80% women.
So back then, and to get back to the story, it was critical for students like yourself, female students like yourself, to be excellent at what you do. Otherwise,
you weren't going to even be looked at. Yep. The other thing that was lucky, I guess, about me was I only did 2 years of college. I just fulfilled all the requirements, and I was accepted in my first application.
That's great. Now, is that the norm, or is it what's the norm? Is it
norm is 4 years.
4 years.
4 years of college, and then try applying and see if anyone likes you.
So is that a lot of crystal meth, or you just were a really, really great student?
Yeah. Wow. Could we have some of those fans yelling again? No, it was a lot of studying, and I think I had good genetics. My father was a physician. My mom's a physical therapist. My dad told me I would flunk chemistry based upon his genes, but my mom's genes kicked in, and I did okay.
Now, if I remember right, you graduated valedictorian. Is that correct?
I did. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how did the male counterparts in that class feel?
In my high school class?
Yes, when you graduated as a valedictorian.
Oh, well, they got their due, man. I mean, hey, I've been saying it all along.
You missed out, suckers.
Yeah,
that's right.
Uh-huh. Who's good?
So once you got your license to practice, what happened then?
I wanted to be out in practice for a year or two only, so that I could go back into academia and discover a cure for cancer by becoming an oncologist.
Really?
Yes. But then I had some health issues along the way, which required me to take another step back and see about staying in practice instead of all the hats you have to wear in academia. Because you have to have funding research, you have to take care of classes, you have to do your research. There's just quite a lot of requirements.
So help to educate me, and I have a feeling many of our viewers and listeners here, the field of oncology in veterinarian medicine, is that
it's huge?
Is it really?
Do you know about canaries in the mine shaft?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Send the canaries in the mine shaft. So when the gases, whatever the heck they are, get too extreme, the canaries fall dead. So if the miner sees the dead canary, he knows, let's get the heck out of here.
Right.
It's not too fair to the canaries.
No, I know.
They're canaries.
The ornithology people would be all over that.
They're delicious. I call it smoked canary.
I like finches. So anyway, the animals, cancer is quite prevalent. And I don't think it's just because we're having them live longer, but they pick up a lot of what we put into our environments. So quite often people are applying fertilizers to their lawns, which also have something against insects or grubs. And I'll ask them, well, is that animal safe, what you're putting on the yard? Oh, I don't know. I just try to, keep them off of it for 24 hours. Well, are you on a well system? Well, yeah. So did you read what chemicals were in that? No. Maybe we should take a look at that. So I feel in some ways animals are canaries in a mine shaft. And so we're seeing so much cancer in them because of what we're doing to our environments.
Not to digress too much here, but going back many years ago, and I think I shared this story with you. This has to be 30 years ago. I had what was the best dog that I've ever owned, a dog named Shep. And when I brought him to the vet because there was something going on, and he was diagnosed with cancer at that time. And again, this was late 70s, early 80s. I was stunned. I mean, as I own my own naivete, and this was one area that it manifested, and that was I literally asked the vet at that moment in time, you mean animals can get cancer? I just had never made the connection in my head, but I didn't realize that the field is as prevalent as it is.
Yeah, and we have lots of cancer protocols for animals now in chemotherapy, in surgical laser knives. MRIs are quite prevalent, where there's a center in Connecticut where you can have an animal get an MRI.
So in your practice, are you both a GP and a surgeon? And is that the norm in the veterinary world?
I think in the specialty practices, they're trying to farm all of that out. So you'll have a radiologist on staff, you'll have a soft tissue surgeon on staff, you'll have an oncologist, an internal medicine, a cardiologist, and so forth. But right now I wear those hats.
They're farming out the specialists. That was pretty funny. That was good right there. I like that. I appreciate that.
That's a veterinarian humor, and she's entitled.
Yeah. Got to use the words where appropriate.
So when did you decide to take the plunge to open up your own hospital?
I think it's called being in the right place at the right time. A practice that I started working at that said you have 4 to 4.5 day work weeks, 3 weeks vacation your first year. I was attracted to that from working 70 hours a week. And then coming here, the guy wanted to sell the practice. And I said, I have no idea about running a business. I know nothing about it. I just want to take care of the animals. Just want to fix them, go away. And he said, well, this would be a perfect opportunity. It's been here for a while. It's a business already, an entity, and you just have to take over the reins and learn the ropes.
So when did you do that? How long ago was that?
1985.
Wow, so you've been at it for a long time.
I know. I was 5 then.
So when you dove in, did his words turn to be prophetic, or did you want to find him and... Right.
There were parts of it that were true, that it could almost run itself. But that kind of fell away after about 8 months. And then after that, I just flew by the seat of my pants, and I'm still doing so.
Well, let's explore that a little bit, because as I shared with you before the show went on the air, we know that a high percentage of our viewing audience are entrepreneurs, and either they are already in the game or they're contemplating going into the game. Mm-hmm. So you came in with obviously a great skill set, a gift, and yet at the same time, you had to recognize within those first 5, 6, 7, 8 months, oh my God, as good as I am at what I do, there's a whole other slew of skill sets that I need that I have no clue of. Would that be a fair?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So how did you learn? Who did you hire? What did you do to be able to, because you can be the most brilliant veterinarian out there, but if you don't have the business savvy, that business is not going to remain successful.
Well, I'd like to refute that.
Okay.
Because I don't feel I have business savvy, and yet I still exist. So I think a part of it is finding the right people to work for you, to do the things that need to be done.
Business savvy, keep going.
Stop. You also have to have the right theory behind your business, which would be not to be in it for money.
sense of business savvy there too. I'm sorry, I'm just being a pest.
Wait, did you say not being in it for money was business savvy?
Well, sounds like business silly.
Well, no, there is
sounds like
something
on the horns business plan right there.
If it's all about the money, then the likelihood of success, I think, diminishes. If it's all about the passion and the mission, then the likelihood of success increases.
I'll give you that.
I'm on that page.
So, and to me, that's wisdom. That would be, sorry, Amy.
I think it's wisdom. It might not be business savvy.
Okay.
But maybe it's that word that turns me. The business part.
She never learned French.
I did not.
Well, let me ask you this. In the years that you've been running your independent hospital, how many other indies have succumbed for one reason or another?
I have no idea, but I know that, as I said earlier, that they claim that 60% of us little guys will be corporately owned, probably within the next few years. So stay in the business there, you little ones, because we still need to have that non-corporate care for animals.
And what does corporate care mean? How would that, if Tommy Russo's bringing in his cat Hojo to a corporate hospital as opposed to an independently owned hospital, what are the differences that I'm going to experience?
Well, it means that you are funding quite a bit of California, especially if the company is based in California. It means that you are supporting a large infrastructure that exists beyond those four walls. And I think it's really important to support locally businesses because that's how they thrive and survive. If everybody becomes a Walmart, then, what does that mean for quality care? And I'm sure corporations want to make sure that they try to keep that quality care there and that personal touch there, but it's different still.
So even in your industry, we're seeing that because you certainly, we can point to right now from, you mentioned Walmart, from department stores to, local hardware stores to restaurants, the taking over of America business landscape.
Right.
We've gone from local to regional to national, and you're saying the same thing is occurring. And is Connecticut one of the last bastions, or is it one of the first to be taken over corporately?
I think the East Coast is on the lower level of corporate takeovers, but the East Coast is a little bit more dinosaur-like.
So we've already explored, your price, girlfriend.
Yo. Price for what?
That's right. For if the corporation came in and and wanted to buy you out.
Right.
So if that was to happen, would you still stay on as a practitioner?
They want you to.
They want you to.
They want you to for a while. Although most of the friends that I've had that have sold out to corporations usually have left the corporation within a few years. They just can't tolerate working for a corporation.
Got it.
I don't know the details, but
I happened to see something on the news the other day, Fox Business Network, and I didn't watch the entire story, but I did watch a portion of it, and in part anticipating, you being a guest here on the show. And they were saying that even in a down economy, lots and lots of folks will cut back on the nights that they go out to dinner. And some of the discretionary things that they would choose to do, but what they will often refuse to cut back is on their pet care, making sure that the pet is eating great and having all the medical services and accoutrements that, some pet owners provide to their pets. Is that your experience?
I would like to say it's a huge percentage of what I see, but I would say that maybe is 30% of the people really are that way and can afford that. But New England has been pretty hard hit. Connecticut especially. I have lots of people leaving the state. They're going to places where they can afford their properties, they can afford their retirement, and they can afford their pets. And Connecticut's difficult.
So what happens there? Are they leaving the pets behind? They're putting them up?
No, they're taking them with them.
They are.
Yeah. But what we've found with this economy is a lot of animals are being dumped. They're being found in bags and dumpsters and on highways, and even around Irene, a lot of animals were just, people were coming in, well, we found this one over here, we found that one over there, and you have to wonder whether it was Irene or something else.
I want to remind you folks that we have Dr. Amy Crockett with us this evening, and also make sure that you please follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So with that said, what's the challenge? How do you go about marketing to keep? Okay, this is the business savvy thing. Boy, no. Was there panic in that expression?
Yes.
So when you're filling out your tax return, do you itemize above line HC, or do you choose to go with the J12?
I go with the Jack Daniels.
A little bit of both.
That's right, 2 shots. So is there a marketing strategy for your hospital?
I think with the advent of the internet, marketing is much more accessible for veterinarians, but it's always been frowned upon because it is, you're a doctor, you're not a lawyer who takes out big, huge pages in the yellow pages. You're not really supposed to be handing out coupons and stuff like that.
Yeah. At the same time, though, and as you know, the industry that I'm in and have been for a significant portion of my life is marketing, advertising field. And certainly when we first got into marketing and advertising, and we've been a Connecticut-based corporation now for almost 30 years, you would not see any of the professional trades, doctors and lawyers in particularly, on the airwaves. That's changed dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I can speak to, in fact, one of my guests will be on December 21st, Dr. Bruce Stein, who he and his wife, Dr. Lori Greenwald, own 2 practices. One's Vanishing Veins, a varicose vein practice, and then Vives, which is a metaesthetic center. And they are, I think the word prolific would be appropriate, prolific advertisers. They are out on the airwaves a lot. And certainly you see that in the dental world and even with a fair amount of doctors. So
you're not going to probably see it with a cardiologist or a pulmonologist or an oncologist.
But you know what? You do. You see, and you know where you see it? You see it in hospitals. Hospitals are taking out advertisements. They're having their doctors go on there and say, "Hi, I'm
a diabetic
Susan Griffin, and I,
it's a great point.
I cure cancer for people. Go nowhere else than Hartford Hospital
or St. Francis." You're right. That's a great point.
So they can do it under the corporate shell,
right?
Or something like that.
So I'm curious any sense as to why the wonderful world of veterinary medicine has been what it seems to be a little bit lagging behind that. No question, increasing trend of professional services, crossing the meridian of, broadcast advertising and more aggressive advertising in general.
And then he's going to give you a sales pitch about advertising on the horn.
Yeah. And let him do all the work behind that and what that would cost.
Exactly.
Give me that estimate.
Oh, come on. That's right.
My business savvy has to
$3
kick
million.
in.
It's the low. Today only.
That's right.
As a guest of our show.
4 easy payments.
There you go.
And the Jinsu knives.
And the Kinsu knives.
Yeah.
It slices, it dices. You can use them in surgery.
Yes. Running out of scalpels, just hand a couple of these to her.
That's right. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is you have no clue as to why.
I have no clue as to why, other than it was always advertising was frowned upon. Now, there was a lot of yellow pages wrestling going on. Who got the top of the page, who got the bigger ad. And I remember one veterinarian asking all of us to just go back to a one line, let's not do the big ads. Let's all take a hold of this now and not let them have all of our money.
Did everybody play nice?
Everybody played nice for 1 year, and that very same person had the biggest ad the next year. Like, what?
That's what I call business savvy right there. Oh, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, my God. Boy, he cold cocked you guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah, that's right.
Woohoo! They fell for it.
I got this great veterinary practice. It's on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. Hyannis Bridge, I think.
So does your website do you find that your patients, if you will, or your patients' owners?
Yes. I'm asking the cats to click on the icon with the fish moving.
Very clever monkeys out there, I'm telling you.
Yes, we're trying to make it animal practical. So we have a bone that the dogs can chase and tap the screen with their nose. No, we are finding more clients are coming in based upon our website, and they're searching for veterinarians, and they want to see what they're made of before they make an appointment.
Now, where is your practice located?
In Norwich, Connecticut.
Norwich.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're talking about it, why don't you let our viewers know what the name of your practice is?
It is. Is this okay? Is this business savvy? Because
This
it's
is business-
scaring me.
Okay.
It's Norwichtown Veterinary Hospital, and it's been there since Route 52 was changed to 395. But I've only been there since 85. I was 5 again when I started.
That's right. And you were as creative as my partner and I were with your name, or did you adopt that name?
I adopted the
Okay.
name. It's like, you get the cat. His name is Sparky. You just keep the name Sparky, even though it's not really working for you. Could add a middle name or something if you really want to change it up.
This is Sparky Louise Crocket right now.
We've had
A calico.
Yes, Claude Monet. Claude CLAWED.
Very, very funny, huh?
Fido PHYDEAU. Things like that. It's all in them.
That's how creative
All in the
you
alphabet.
want to be.
Mhm.
So in this industry, is there a lot of generational conversion, meaning, mom and dad brought the pets, the siblings now bring the pets, the grandparents? Do you see that?
Yeah, I do see that. I do. Now that you've mentioned it.
And how does your practice do in keeping those patients, keeping the families within the family?
Well, we were just commenting the other day of the number of people walking in and saying that they're retiring, and us looking at each other going, what did we do wrong exactly? I mean, they've been coming here the last 30 years, and they're retiring, and we're not. Would that be the business savvy lack therein?
I think you might have a point.
So, yes, so we've seen their kids born, the human children, the animals. We watch their animals go through their lives. We help them pass on, and we welcome the next life into their families, the animal families and the human families. And so we've seen many generations. I think when I was in practice for 14 years, that was the saddest year, because that was when a great number of my patients died, because that was like the average lifespan for animals.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has that changed, the average lifespan for animals?
Yes, it has. It's increased.
2?
I think it's probably about 15 for cats and probably 13, 14 for dogs, depending upon if they're small or large. Small breeds can live into the 20s, and large breeds maybe double digits. Really large breeds anyway.
Wow.
So Great Dane is probably not going to make it to 10, whereas a Golden Retriever will, unless they have cancer, because Golden Retrievers are so full of cancer.
Are they really?
Yeah, there are some genetic links that we're seeing. We used to see it always in boxers, but now Golden Retrievers seem to be a big cancer.
Now, do
gene.
you see those trends continuing to increase over the years? I mean, certainly with all, we hear an enormous amount about the medical improvements for us humans. Are you seeing the same kind of research going into the animal world and improving quality of life, from transplants, knees and hips and shoulders? I mean, is all of that unfolding in the animal world as well?
Yeah, I think they've just done the second knee replacement for a cat in history.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
They have done hips for a long time in dogs. I haven't seen knees in dogs, but they've done hips for a long time. Total hip replacement.
And is there a certain, area in the country that this is going on, or is
Everywhere.
it everywhere?
Yep.
That's great.
I'm not sure where they did the knee and the cat. It was on, I'm sure you guys could find it. It was on the news recently.
Okay. Now, is there a camaraderie with the veterinary world that when a vet performs a procedure like that, an operation like that, is he or she inclined to want to share that news and help to educate the rest of you so that it doesn't become the second, but down the road, the 20th, the 50th, the 100th?
Yes, I think we're really good about sharing that information, but I must admit when I first came to Connecticut, it was very closed. Everybody had their own hospital, their own clients, and they didn't want to share information or get together to look over cases or radiographs. It's changed a lot since the old guard. Some of the old guard have left. But in general, yes, everyone likes to share for the common well-being of the animals.
Again, I want to remind you folks that we have Dr. Amy Crockett with us this evening, and we're going to take a break. But before we do that, we've got a commercial to read from one of our longest-standing sponsors, and that is Deepwater Seafood.
Deepwater.
Of Avon, just for the halibut. Sorry, Amy. If you get sick, we understand. Okay, so anyway, Deepwater Seafood.
Deepwater
is Farmington Valley's freshest seafood. They will work with you in your schedule. You call ahead with your order, 860-676-9657, or you can even fax it in with the same area code, 677-2281. Deepwater Seafood will set aside your order for pickup after work. Now, their hours are Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and Saturdays they're open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, I bet you're wondering what's on the menu.
What's on the menu?
It's sea scallops, it's fresh oysters, it's fish and chips, it's soup, it's bisque, it's chowders. Thinking about having a party?
Let's have a party.
It's paella for 12 and a salad. That's all you need. And made with spicy chicken and sausage, scallops, shrimps, and halibut. There's only one place in the Farmington Valley for the freshest seafood, and that is Deepwater Seafood.
Deepwater.
Of Avon. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Budwitz & Meyerjack PC is a large Connecticut-based CPA firm with offices in Cheshire and Farmington, Connecticut. Large enough to handle engagements of enterprises with annual revenues in excess of $100 million, yet small enough to cater to smaller businesses and individual clients who expect personalized attention from partners and staff. Client service is the cornerstone of our practice. Our clients have a fixed fee for their audit and tax work. What this means to the client is we're approachable. Personal communication and client services make for strong relationships. Budwitz & Meyerjack, certified public accountants.
Sandits Travel for business and leisure. We'll take you there. Sandits Travel has been proudly serving Connecticut since 1960. That's over 50 years. And we're ready for another 50 years of superior service. Whether you prefer to come in, call in, or log on, we invite you to explore how efficient, diverse, and fun it is to book through Sandits Travel. Save your money and your time with us. Sandits Travel. We'll take you there.
And the Emmy goes to Stats Magoo.
This is Mr. Magoo's first Emmy for an internet podcast. Recently, he came in second place in the Moodus County Fair Chili Cook-Off, and in 1973 was awarded the Sportsmanship Honorable Mention for 5th grade badminton.
Wow, this is wow. What a shock. I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't know what to say. I mean, got so many people to thank. I mean, no, wait, I have to thank people.
That was Stats Magoo.
I love you, Mom.
Congratulations, Stats. Coming up next, Justin Bieber sings Smells Like Teen Spirit. We'll be right back.
Better than a cod liver shake. And a lot more accessible. On the Horn. On thehorn.com.
Welcome back, folks. We're open for business. And again, I want to remind you that our guest this evening is Dr. Amy Crockett. But before we get to Amy, we're going to read one more commercial from one of our trusted sponsors. That's CentralCTDental.com, featuring Doctors Camp, Sambor, and Lupini. Nice Irish boy, don't you think? So anyway, if you've got serious issues going on or a routine checkup, go nowhere else but CentralCTDental.com. If it can't wait, you should call them right away. If it has to be done right now, you should call them right away. They're very easy to get to. They're on the Plainville-Farmington line. You can call them 860-747-5761 or make an appointment at centralctdental.com. See, I told you.
What did you tell me?
I told you that there's dentists
right.
and doctors. See?
Doctor. There
And
you go.
that was just a setup.
Yes, it was.
Do you have a cranky croc?
So, speaking of Croc and Crocket, rumor has it,
Davy.
you're the fourth generation grand.
Yes, I am.
You are.
Yes, he's a great, 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 great uncle.
Is he?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you never got a chance to
Yes,
meet
but how
him.
is he related to you? We understand he's a wonderful man, but how is he related to you?
Yes, it's in the genes.
I guess so.
Mhm.
I guess so.
Wasn't he a trapper though?
Yes, he was.
And you're sort of like the anti-trapper.
I'm the anti-trapper.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
But I think his was more survival.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way of putting it.
Exactly.
So, knowing you as well as I do, I know that there's other parts of the good doctor's personality and creative outlet, and for that matter, even business acumen. Sorry, Amy. Well, you're branching out a little bit. So, and I know that one is that you're an author. So if you wouldn't mind, why don't you share with us, at least the two books that you've been involved with,
Okay.
and let us know a little bit about that as well.
Okay. The first book that I published was Be My Words, which is my collection of animal poems. I published that in 1998. There are about 24 poems there based upon real life experiences, patients that were in my hospital, events that took place. Some poems were actually written from the animal to the human. And then we just published it in 2011, is The Thread Fairy, which is a memorial for two victims of 9/11. The Thread Fairy is the granddaughter of my good friend Paula Clifford Scott. Her daughter and granddaughter were killed on 9/11 in the plane, and her daughter's best friend was also killed in the opposite plane. And so the story takes you from Ireland, which is where her daughter Ruth was born, gives you a taste of Ireland and the fairy lore there, and then it takes you across the ocean to the United States where the thread mills came about, and that's where the Thread Fairy comes in. She's born here in New England, and she asks God on that day if she can care for the children, that she could guide them all to heaven. And a child herself, the Thread Fairy, knew from hate and fear love could bloom.
That's great. And if you want, you can show a copy of the book. I know you brought it with you.
I did.
So, with that said, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the book. I know that this past fall there was a memorial garden that opened up in honor of the Thread Fairy. Can you share a little bit with that?
Yes. The 9/11 Memorial Garden at Lyman Allyn Art Museum actually originated that year in 2001. We just had the 10-year anniversary and had a nice program there, if nice is the proper word. And there are areas for children. It's called the Children's Secret Garden, and there are mushroom tables and chairs and frogs. And we usually have a tea party there for kids and celebrate the Thread Fairy by giving the little ones wands and wings, and then I usually do crafts with them. We make fairy houses and fairy ornaments and things like that. And just lately I've decided that since children can come to me for the Thread Fairy parties, what children can't. And so recently I've been going to children's oncology units to have fairy tea parties with them. I went to Hasbro before Christmas, and then I'm going to go to Connecticut Children's Hospital next month.
That's great. Now, if people purchase this book, is a percentage going to charity? Is it how does that work, Amy?
I'm not sure how it works because I have no business savvy. What happens is the money, the profit from the Thread Fairy goes right into the 9/11 Memorial Garden. And if you go to the garden, you will actually see the Thread Fairy there. She was commissioned by a sculptress, that's the word,
It is.
who created an archway that represents the lives. It has four corners and globes at the top of the lives lost from Connecticut, and then the Thread Fairy exists there as well. And so then this gets to tell the tale. We actually had 2 book signings at Lawrence Memorial Hospital right around the holidays, and we sold just so many books, and so many people were coming up and thanking Paula for, reaching out in this way to heal not only herself, but to heal so many other people that were affected by 9/11.
And again, are the proceeds going to keep the new memorial funded? If you don't mind me asking, just so that our viewers and listeners are aware if they do decide to purchase the book. And then the next question would be, how would they go about purchasing it?
The money supports the 9/11 Memorial Garden at Lyman Allyn Art Museum. It's even though it's on the property, we have our own gardener, we have our own events there. We have to, coordinate it with Lyman Allyn, but we kind of do our own thing over there. So in order to make wands and wings and have our crafts and put in new plantings and take care of what happened with Irene, I mean, when Irene came, it took us so much to redo what we'd already done in preparation for 9/11. We had Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, people from everywhere were coming just to try to help us get ready for 9/11.
How sweet is that? That's great.
That was great. So we're working on the Thread Fairy website. We don't really have it established yet, but we would just ask for you to stay tuned for that to come to fruition, so that if you can't get to one of our tea parties at the Lyman Allyn Art Museum, you can't get to Mystic. We have it at Bank Square Books in Mystic. We'll have it in more bookstores the more book signings we do. We had one in Mystic right on the day that Santa Claus was coming on a tugboat. And I had my fairy wings on when I was in the downtown, and ushered a lot of people into either a hallucination. What was that on the corner? But we did have a lot of people interested in what was going on in the fairy world. And that's another thing that I wanted to just mention is,
please do.
There's this something called fairy magic, which is different than, let's say, just unconditional love that an animal can give. So if you have unconditional love and then you add in fairy magic and you take that into places where a cancer center, or you take it to children who are sick, like we might go into the center of Hasbro and affect more children. Fairy magic kind of just gives a spark of life, of hope, of magic. I don't know what other word there is for it. Just to light their eyes. You can actually see it in their eyes. It's something that maybe us as adults lose, but it's something that you help recreate or bring to light.
So in the meantime, if they wanted to, they could reach you?
Yes, at the Norwichtown Vet at Comcast.net.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's that would be your email address?
That's my email address, too, if there are people with animal questions or...
So Norwichtown Vet at Comcast.net.
Yes.
Okay, that even rhymes. Did you intend that?
No, of course not.
Okay, because there's no business savvy.
No.
Now, you have one other thing that has been in development that really ties in, I think, wonderfully to, you as a veterinarian and you as a spiritualist and you as a shaman. And that is, well, you share it with us, please.
Okay.
And again, you feel free to show.
Okay. Well, let me just preface it by saying I've been taking some shaman courses, which has to do with energy fields in the body, that we all have a certain vibration. Humans at the 49th octave, our energy centers or our organs have different levels of vibration. And so they are termed as chakras, or chakra centers, and 7 are the suggested based upon some of the Indian teachings. And through the shaman work, you learn to change linear projection. In other words, if your mother had breast cancer, and your chances of breast cancer would be a linear projection. as a shaman, you move energy so that linear projections no longer exist, and you remove generational issues. So if I translate that into the animal world, into the chakra system, into this energy balancing, and that health is a vibration and disease is a vibration. If you can change vibration to create health, why not do it without medication, without injections, without harmful things? So I developed a chakra pad, which has the 7 energy centers. Just a colorful background for my business savvy. And each pocket represents a chakra center, the root chakra being the base of the spine, and the brow or crown being the very top. And there are stones, based upon my research, that can help create or tune the vibration that is abnormal. So as we were speaking earlier, if you're trying to tune into a radio station and you get the right vibration, meaning you're in tune with the channel, you hear what they say, everything is clear, and there's understanding. But if you go off, just a little bit off that frequency, the clarity is gone. The words are garbled. You don't know if it's a country station anymore. So the body is kind of like that, and the chakra system is a way of tuning each of these centers.
That's a great analogy.
And we do it with stones.
Now, you even talked, and I'll share a little bit, that Amy and I are both Young Living distributors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a company that, among other things, has essential oils as part of their product line, and supplements, and goes on. And it's not just for humans, but also, for the animal world. If anything, it seems in some ways, at least from some of the research that I've done that has been sent my way, that there are practitioners out there that are using the oils more readily in the animal world than even, with humans. You had shared earlier that there might be an application for that as well?
Yes. If you go to Wikipedia and look at vibration, it will give you from gamma rays what their vibration is, down to what an aroma's vibration is, what a human's vibration is, what a stone's vibration is, depending upon what the stone matrix is. So aromas actually can change vibration as well. So you can use them to create from disease to health by combining the right aroma with the right chakra center or the right organ system that is affected by an illness.
Now, have you had the opportunity to kind of segue back to your veterinary practice? Have you had the opportunity to apply some of that to, some of your patients?
I'm starting to.
Okay.
So I have some test chakra pads out there and some stones out there, and I just was consulting with a gem woman who works with gem healing therapy, and she may be able to help me with perhaps some pendants for animals, especially if we see a lot of laryngeal diseases in animals, and there may be something useful there.
So this could be like doggy jewelry and
exactly doggy bling, baby.
Is this like the Tryon Z that they always send down to golfers to try to get them to wear magnets or something like that?
Yes, it'll be the Crocket magnet therapy. No, the gems, I guess, have their own vibrations too, and they can not only create a better vibration, but they can absorb abnormal vibrations.
Huh.
So a lot of people are using them around their microwaves, around their computers, to try to normalize the vibration before it reaches human flesh or animal flesh.
I don't know a lot about vibrations, but I will say this. Your voice has a certain vibration that just it's very calming. I have normally I would want to jump in and be the devil's advocate and stuff, and I'm just kind of like, It's not even sleepy. I'm just sort of meditating out or something.
I must admit,
Brian, your chakra. You have a radio chakra. And you're going to give me free advertising.
But
I want a
she's the first.
Eyed Sally's gift card. Okay, here it is. You're a winner.
I do have some clients that actually just call me because they just need to hear my voice. And maybe it's perhaps part of that a calming, but also maybe just to throw in some logic into their frantic times around their pets.
Okay, we'll keep going. I'm just going to
Chakra.
Yeah, you have been
blankets.
awfully quiet here, Brian, but it was a good question regarding because you do see magnets and stones being used for certain athletes in certain sports.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely seeing.
You do see this. You don't see the stones as much, but you do see the magnets. But all the magnets say the exact same thing. This is just a big crock of hooey on their packaging. So it's kind of funny. If you ever see the Tryon Z is the big one for golfers, and it actually says, these magnets they're not doing anything for you.
I would just like to comment that magnets were being used in spinal healing, and there was a study ongoing at one of the universities because the spine, has its electrical components, that a severed spine like Christopher Reeve's would never reunite or rebuild. And my little sister's friend was in a car accident and had that same severed spine, and I tried to get her into the study for magnets, and they had already closed the study, but they were finding some astrocyte and nerve regrowth in areas where the magnets were used. So the magnets were creating some kind of polarity to pull the growing cells, which have probably a different energy than the already made cells, the non-growing cells. Same with cancer, is a very fast-growing cell, which has a different vibration.
Right. I think their claim is not all magnets are the same.
Exactly.
Like if you put two of those Tryon Z magnets together, they don't stick to one another.
No.
That's how. I don't even know if they're magnets at that level. They probably can't. They probably can't because it might cause cancer in a healthy arm. It's like they don't know, so they can't. They can't.
If your arm falls off, don't call us. That's all I'm saying.
Now you need the Tryon Z neck brace.
Yes.
So with that said, we talked a little bit about this before the show started. And, I can speak to my own experiences in dealing with Western medicine practitioners and those that want to integrate at least some of the Eastern philosophies, which is clearly in part what we're discussing here. How do your brethren, your colleagues, view some of this stuff? I told you I was going to put you on the spot, so here I am.
Yep. Well, with my business savvy and all, I just like to say that I don't really care. Where life takes you, where medicine, where your wisdom takes you is where you need to go. And what I've learned through these alternate healing courses, that there are ways other than pills and injections and chemo and radiation and laser knives and things like that to create health and even eliminate cancer. And one of my teachers in the shaman courses beat her cancer energetically. No laser knife, no drugs, no chemo, no nothing.
See, now, as you know, I firmly believe in that and am, in my own way, a practitioner of all of that. But clearly it's a message that needs to get out there and continue to have folks like yourself beat the drum and let the rest of us know that it is doable. And that doesn't mean it's doable for everybody, but at the same time, there are more and more stories like the one you just shared of individuals saying, something, this is, and it's not a diagnosis that I'm willing to accept, and I'm going to internalize and do the things that I need to do to get my vibration back to where it needs to be.
Right.
And I'm going to rectify this, ratify it, whatever, on my own.
Right. And I praise pioneers that are willing to do that kind of thing. But as I said, my sister being a physician was already quacking at me when I started talking about chakras and blankets and stones and energy and vibration. She was already going quack, 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 quack. So I'm sure there'll be people who are listening or whatever, paying attention, that will be saying the same thing. But I think when critical mass is reached, which is something that Deepak Chopra has also said, when you get enough critical mass behind an evolutionary step, you can skip a millennia for that evolutionary step.
That's exciting. What do we have any calls or chat room questions regarding?
Chat room is quiet. They're in there, but they're not saying anything. So if you guys in the chat room have any questions that you want me to ask, I will pass those along. I like what you're saying about the enough energy behind a certain movement, because I think a lot of that is true in the popularity. And now you can have a business model in massage where it was relieving stress and all that kind of stuff, and just, you know, basic things like stretching to be a little healthier. You know, it's funny that we live in these very, some of us more sedentary than others, lifestyles. But even if you move around a little bit, you may be cardiovascular health might be okay, but you just don't move certain muscles or whatever, or joints a certain way. And I think, you know, massage and stretching have really come a long way to do that. So, you know, maybe this is just, you know, a few years down the road where it's very popular and people are going to the spa to get chakra, aroma therapy, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And there are already doing that, the Ayurvedic ways of healing, which is another
what is that word?
Energy, Ayurvedic.
Okay.
It has
and
to
that
do
means?
with energy types, whether
Okay.
you're kind of more fire type, the type A personality, more air, or, you know.
How do you find that out?
You go to an Ayurvedic person and they will tell you if you are Vata, Pitta, or Kapha.
We should do that. We should have me walk in and I won't say anything. So they can't, like, you know, quiz me. And let's just see if they can pick. What do you think I am?
Vata.
Which one is that, Nan?
No, you're probably fire, which is Pitta.
Pitta?
Yeah.
I don't want to be Pitta. That's ugly.
Yeah. You're a pitiful man. Pitiful, okay?
Pitta.
And I would be?
Probably water.
Yeah, wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I agree. I think you're right.
Yeah. Could have said air, hot air, you know, I was on. But, and I don't know much about Ayurvedic ways. And there are aromas and scents that help to normalize that kind of energy as well, whether you're Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. We don't have those types necessarily for animals. I prefer to really work with them just energetically, not based upon their breed or what size they are. And in fact, a lot of shaman work is over the phone.
So how much is that? You hear this in raising children on a regular basis, nature versus nurture. How much does that apply to what you were just talking about in the animal world? You know, it could be a pit bull breed, which has clearly gotten a bad rap over the years, though they're great dogs, at least the handful that I've had the opportunity to interact with. But how much of that nature versus nurture applies to the animal world?
I would say there's probably about 2% genetic, and the rest is environmental.
Really?
Because, I mean, very rarely do we see an angry pit bull. Occasionally you'll see a Rottweiler at the age of 6 weeks already growling at you, and you know that one's going to be going to need some class work, maybe some chakra work. But it's mostly environmental.
Huh? That's interesting.
But you know that certain breeds are picked for certain things based upon their working class and so forth. So the shepherds are usually for the police force, and you have your mountain dogs that do the rescues and things like that.
Go ahead. Sure.
And now they have diabetic alert dogs. They can tell you when your blood sugar is too low or too high.
Really?
Yes.
So we're running out of time here. Again, folks, I want to let you know that our guest this evening was Dr. Amy Crockett from the Norwichtown Veterinary Hospital in Norwich, Connecticut. What do you, if people are interested in contacting you, what's the best way for them to reach you, Amy?
They can either call my office, which my staff would be ready to accept their calls. That's 860-886-0188, or norwichtownvet@comcast.net.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. And where do you see you and the practice 1 year from now, 5 years from now?
I see it becoming a bigger center for healing other than just routine veterinary care.
That's great. And does that healing include the mommies and the daddies along with the patient?
Yes, it includes the humans, because the humans are often a source of disease in their pets.
There you go. Amy, thank you very much. Folks, remember that it's no longer Business Buzz. It's We're Open for Business. Open for Business. Thank you. OnTheHorn.com. We appreciate you tuning in this evening, and we will see you next week.
Trying to be rock stars, they'd be playing air guitar and using a karaoke mic. And they're our kind of people. On the Horn. On thehorn.com.